Hi everyone, so I'm here today to do an update and an experiment. Excuse the fact that I'm starting off this video like this. I'll probably look more dressed as the video goes on, but the video I'm doing today requires quite a little bit of reading actually, and I don't want to spend like all of that time reading all in one go, because if I do it all in one chunk, I don't feel like it's going to be a very fair experiment. I mean, it's not going to be the most scientific experiment ever anyway, because that's not me. I'm not a scientific girl. But I think this will still be really interesting, just to, as much as anything, just to sort of satisfy the curiosity and see if it does make any difference at all. So if you did not see my first video on subvocalization and what it means to subvocalize and to sort of give you handy tips to beat it, then I highly recommend you check that out. That will be in the description and also in the cards. But this video came about because someone commented on that video recently saying, like, it'd be nice to see an update video, to which I was like, oh yeah, that would be a great idea, except I kind of gave up on it and haven't really tried to worry about my subvocalizing, and if I do it, I do it, and if I don't, I don't. Who really cares? So that's the point that I felt like I was at, and I was like, I'd still really quite like to look into this though. So I've come up with, as I said, the most unscientific experiment you can imagine. Let me just grab my notes. So I've got 9 experiments here. Basically all of these I'm going to read my current physical book, which is Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, because I figured that's a book that I feel quite comfortable in reading anyway, so it's not like I'm going to ruin my reading experience of a book while doing this experiment. So I'm just going to carry on with that. I feel like it's a nice easy book to do this with, but yeah. Number 1 is, I'm just going to read out loud for 10 minutes, actually full on vocalizing, and see how many pages I get through. Number 2 is I'm going to read 10 pages normally. I mean, whether I subvocalize, whether I don't, I'm just going to read it as if I'm just genuinely reading, and again, see how many pages I read in 10 minutes. So then number 3, I'm going to look at the words, making a conscious effort to not subvocalize. Then number 4, I'm going to read while listening to classical music. Number 5, I'm going to listen to pop music, but like songs that I enjoy. Number 6, I'm going to listen to songs that I don't like, that have got words in, and just, it'd be interesting to see whether there's any difference in those music ones at all. I feel like there will be. And then one of the other ones is to read to the TV being on with background noise. Then another one will be to just let my head try and sort of allow for every few words, like as long as I sound the occasional one in my head. Then another one is to chew chewing gum, and I just realised that I've missed an experiment off here, so there's going to be 10. I'm going to add on the one of counting numbers as well while I read, and just see how I get on with that. So this is probably going to take me a lot of the afternoon, hence why I'm starting now this morning, just with a bit of the introduction here. I'm going to read little bits here, read little bits there, do a challenge here, a challenge there, maybe have a coffee occasionally. I don't want to just do all 10 in one go, because by the time I get to the 10th one, surely my head will just be really tired from all these different experiments, and it just wouldn't be fair to the ones later down in the list. That's my thinking. So, I mean, I'm sure I've probably missed some off here, so if there's any tests that you want me to do for future ones as well while I'm thinking about it, just let me know in the comments. While I am ready with my book though, I'm just going to do the very first one on the list, which was, oh goodness, which was it? Oh yeah, the read out loud one. So I'm going to do that one now, and time 10 minutes, and then come back to you in a moment with an update. Well, in 10 moments with an update. And also, for the record, I am starting experiment number 1 on page 274. Okay, first of all, that timer just made me jump out of my skin. I feel so like on edge now. But that went really horribly. Not to say that 4 pages in 10 minutes isn't that bad, but I just really don't enjoy reading out loud. And I'm glad that that one's over with. I'm going to do one more quickly before I then take a break, because I've only done 10 minutes so far, so that's fine. So the next one is to read while counting. I'm putting that as the second one. So It'll be counting in my head, just to clarify that. I'm also going to rank these, not just in terms of, like towards the end of the video, not just in terms of how many pages I read so that we know which has been the most efficient and which is the least efficient, but also which one I enjoyed the experience of and felt like I took the book in the best versus the worst. So this video might end up being quite long by the end of this, but I think it's really fun and something quite different, so I hope you're enjoying it. So as an update, the numbers was definitely quite a success in terms of the amount of pages read. I read a lot. I'm going to tell you exactly how many because I'll do that in the sort of summary at the end. But I've read a lot and I was able to take a lot of it in too, but it was quite hard work and kind of ruined the reading experience a bit, I think. I don't think my eyes are getting too tired yet. They're just starting to feel it a little bit. So I'm going to do one more before I take a break. So I'm going to do the third challenge, which is to just read totally normally. So that shouldn't challenge me too much. So I just finished the third experiment and that went okay. I read nearly another full page when the alarm went off. So I've just marked it as a half page because it's going to start getting a bit tricky if I try to divide more than that. But again, I'll give you the results later on. My eyes are starting to feel really tired now because obviously I've not just been doing normal reading, I've been like reading differently to how I normally would. So I'm going to take a quick break now, make sure that I'm keeping everything as sort of fair as I can so that I don't have really tired eyes for the next few challenges. Experiments, whatever you want to call them. And I guess we'll see how it goes. But this is really quite fun. It's making me think, I wonder what other experiments I can come up with. I'm back for more. It's now time to do my 10 minutes of trying to read, consciously trying to think about not subvocalizing. So looking at the page and thinking, right, I'm just going to look at these words and I'm not going to like say a single one in my head, if that makes sense. So I really didn't enjoy that one and really struggled with it. I'm pretty sure some of the time I was definitely subvocalizing. The times where I realised I was, I then tried to stop, but then my reading just felt like I was skimming. So yeah, I really struggled with that one, didn't really enjoy it. Stay tuned as ever for the result of that one. So now I'm going to move on to listening to classical music while reading. And I realised I've messed up a little bit here because do I put on classical music that I know and enjoy? Do I put on one that I don't know? So I've gone for one that I know because I really feel like just listening to this right now anyway. For some reason I always really used to enjoy listening to The Planets by Gustav Holst, so I've decided to pop that on. Specifically, 8 minutes of the time that I'll be reading will be covered by Jupiter. So then I've only got 2 minutes of something else, and I like the Jupiter one, so that'll cover most of my reading time. So yay, I'm going to go and listen to that and do my 10 minutes of reading. Okay, so I've finished that experiment, and now I'm going to be moving on to the one that I am going to do while listening to music that's got words to it. I phrased it as pop earlier, but it didn't really need to be pop. It could have been anything. That said, I have picked pop. I've decided to go for one of my favourite Take That albums just because it's one that I think I'll be singing along to the most in my head, because that's what I'm really trying to achieve, something that distracts me from the words on the page, to see if I can still take those in and get through at speed. So we'll see how this goes versus my classical experience, just which wasn't all that helpful, to be honest. Okay, that felt like it worked a bit better, but I'm not sure that it actually did. So now I need to move on to the one where I listen to music by someone I don't like. For this, I was a bit unsure as to what to go for, so Luke will be pleased with this. I've decided to pick Radiohead, and I really dislike Radiohead, and he really loves Radiohead, so we'll be amused to watch this video and see that I've been listening to Radiohead while he's at work. But yeah, I'm gonna now listen to 10 minutes of Radiohead and see how much I can read. Well, that was predictably very unenjoyable and didn't go too well either, actually, so I'm so glad. That isn't how I've got to now read if I want to get through a lot of pages. So I'm going to go for listening to the TV in the background while reading now and see how that goes. I mean, I haven't specified on whether I should watch something, well, listen rather to something that I like or something that I don't like. I don't really know what I should put on. Was Pointless on BBC One? I feel like I'd be trying to answer the questions if I listened to that. The Chase, again I feel like I'd be listening to the questions of that. Come Dine With Me, I would definitely end up listening to that. I mean, like, what do I watch? Do I just listen to the news and the weather? I don't know what to go for. I should probably have done separate ones of these two, but never mind. That can be a future experiment then. I'll just go with The Chase. Random pick. Well, that went terribly because I found myself just constantly looking up and actually watching the TV. So when I was reading, I was probably reading at a decent speed, but I kept, looking up and getting a bit distracted. So I'm not sure how well that part of the experiment will have ended up turning out. So we've got 2 left. One is to just read the book and try and only sort of sound every few words in my head rather than every single one. And then the last one will be the chewing gum one. So we'll go on to the second to last one at this point and back to silent reading. So that was a bit trickier because I was reading a Quidditch scene with a match and it was all a bit tense and trying to focus on just sort of every couple of words. So I was really struggling. I realised that quite a few times I was just reading in my normal fashion and subvocalising the entire lot. So I managed it at times, but I didn't manage it the full 10 minutes. It was difficult. And the one thing I'm learning from this experiment actually is I almost don't care what speed I read, which is probably indeed the conclusion I came to the last time I was looking at this, but I don't care what speed I read so long as I'm enjoying myself, because it's not always that fun trying to read quicker. It's hard work. So now on to the last test, chewing gum, to see if that distracts me enough to not concentrate on every single word and read quicker. And so the results are in. First of all, I just want to say that I've managed to read like over 100 pages, I think. I've managed to read over 100 pages of Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix today to do this. So this has been a really fun video to make. And if you've got any other challenge ideas, please let me know, because this has been great fun. Or at least some of it has. So I'm going to go down the list first and let you know which challenges I enjoyed least, leading up to the ones that I enjoyed the most. So I really hated reading out loud. That comes in at number 10. I really don't enjoy it. It gives you dry mouth. It's the slowest by far, and I knew it was going to be, but I wanted it in here just for the record. And it was just such hard work. I don't enjoy reading out loud anyway. Number 9 we have while listening to music I don't like. Well, who's going to enjoy listening to music they don't like? It's not going to make you focus on the book anymore, as I've proven with this. It just makes you really grumpy because you're there listening to something you hate, and I can't switch it off out of my mind if I'm trying to subvocalize, because I'm using that to try and distract me from the, like, hearing every single word in the book. So yeah, didn't enjoy that. Number 8 is reading while counting. I hated that too. It stressed me out so much. I realised it was really quick and easy, but it was just such a stressful thing to do. It drove me nuts. So then at number 7 we have got reading while listening to the TV in the background. That just didn't work for me. It wasn't that I hated it, it's that I wanted to just sit and watch the TV and kept accidentally watching little bits of it instead of reading, which was just pointless. Number 6 is saying every few words out loud in my head as reading, to try and just focus on some of the words. And again, it just didn't really work too well for me. It was quite stressful thinking, right, don't say that word in my head. And I just felt a bit like I was failing because it was hard work. Number 5 was just making a conscious effort to not subvocalize. It wasn't too unenjoyable, it was just effort, and definitely put me off from reading a little bit, and definitely sucked some of the enjoyment out of reading. Then we have got number 4, listening to some favourite music. That was okay, I enjoyed doing that. I find that that's quite easy to do with Harry Potter. I think if I was to do this experiment again with a book that I've never read before, I'm not sure how that would go, because I feel like the music might be a bit too distracting then. But for something I'm familiar with, that worked well and I really enjoyed it. So number 3 is listening to classical music. I think that if I was reading a book I didn't know, this would be the thing that I'd go for listening to, because it didn't detract from the story, but I was still able to kind of enjoy the experience and reading the book at the same time. And yeah, I thought that worked quite well. Number 2, chewing gum. I actually often chew chewing gum while reading anyway. I'm quite a chewing gum addict, so that's probably like not even a problem for me anyway. And number 1 is reading normally, because again I do a lot of that too. It just depends where I am, what I'm doing, as to whether I'm chewing gum while reading or not. So those two can be kind of interchanged quite a bit, but those two were, you know, joint in first place in my eyes for enjoyment levels. But those do not match up at all with my results for the number of pages read. So my least read was at number 10, of course, the read out loud option. I managed to read 4 pages in 10 minutes. 4 pages, that works out to 24 pages an hour. That is it. Then we have TV on in the background. That is 7 pages. And it's just not worth it, is it? If you're looking at the TV every other page, it's just not worth trying to read the TV in the background. So number 8, I've got reading normally. And that's quite sad that my normal reading pace is that far down this list at 7.5 pages in 10 minutes. So that works out to about 45 pages an hour. Then listening to music I don't like came in at number 7. I managed to read 8 pages. So it's not worth doing that when that's barely above what I would just read normally anyway. Then at number 6 we've got chewing gum. I read 10 pages. 5, listening to classical music. I read 11 pages. 4, listening to favourite music. I read 12 pages. 3, say every few words. I managed to read 12 pages. Making a conscious effort. I read 13 pages. And while counting, I read 15 pages. So there is quite a gap, but the top 3 definitely are not something that I enjoyed doing and wouldn't do outside of this experiment, I don't think, anymore, ever. So the only one that I enjoy on there that did a decent amount would be to listen to favourite music at 12 pages. That I can cope with. Yeah, I don't think that's too bad to read 12 pages in 10 minutes, but I'm not always in the right sort of frame for that, I don't think. As I said earlier, listening to favourite music while reading something new might not be the best idea. So overall, this experiment has been obviously pretty pointless because everyone is different. I'm sure if you were to do this experiment, you would get totally different results to what I have got. But all the same, I thought this was really good fun, really interesting, and has helped serve as a follow-up to this original video of mine that's a good couple of years old now, I might add. So if you want to know anything more about any of the stats I gathered, as I've got a lot here and I don't want to sit there reading them off all night, just let me know in the comments down below. I'm sure I'll be able to answer your questions. But let me know, you know, whether you think that you would cope better with some of these ones, like whether you would prefer to read while counting if it meant that you could read 15 pages in 10 minutes. I mean, that works out to 90 pages an hour. Would you do that for 90 pages an hour, or would you rather just enjoy the reading experience at 45 pages an hour? Because I'm leaning towards enjoy. So what if it takes me a bit longer to finish a book? At least it's not going to stress me out. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe by clicking the image of me if you want to see more book reviews and other bookish content from me, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.